Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a drama film called Serenity from 2019. Enjoy your viewing. Baker is a fisherman who lives on the island of Plymouth. The man earns his living by selling fish and sometimes takes rich customers with him to the sea to hand them the fishing rod when the fish swallows the bait. One day, the hero takes his assistant Duke and another rich man with him. The moment comes when it's time to hand the fishing rod over to the client, but Baker is not going to do it. The fact is that he is sure that the hook of the fishing rod is not just a fish, but the very tuna he has been chasing for several months. Together with his friend, he lures the fish and sets out to sea. The client is furious, but Baker is so disappointed that he doesn't care. Now he has no money to pay off Duke, but he is confident that he can find the necessary funds. The hero goes to his girlfriend Constance. They have a pretty close relationship, so he often visits her to relieve tension. In addition, she pays him for a good time. Afterwards, Baker goes to a bar to have a few drinks and make notes in his notebook describing each encounter with this tuna. He then goes to Duke, gives him the money, and asks him to go out to sea with him the next day without any clients. The friend is worried, because lately business has been very bad, and now he is wasting money on gasoline trying to catch the same tuna. Still, the man agrees. Baker returns home to get ready for the next day, but he can't get a good night's sleep because of the fragments of his dreams with the little boy. He wakes up and goes to the pier. The two men sail out to sea, but after a whole day, they still don't find what Baker is looking for. They are forced to return home with nothing. The hero gets angry and in a fit of rage blames Duke, saying that after his wife's death he hasn't caught anything worthwhile at sea. In the evening, Baker meets his ex-wife Karen at a bar and goes on a boat with her. It turns out that she is still married, and her husband is raising Patrick, Baker's son. But lately, her husband has become very violent and intolerant, so Patrick often has to hear her screaming and arguing outside the door. However, Karen didn't come to Baker to cry about her failed marriage. She decided that he could help her. Baker had fought in Iraq in the past, so he has the right skills. Karen asks her ex-husband to use his knowledge and eliminate her husband quietly, without witnesses or publicity. She wants him to take him out to sea and throw him overboard, and everyone would think that he accidentally fell in and was eaten by sharks. Of course, this is not free. Karen offers the fisherman a large sum of money, but the man still refuses. The next day, Baker goes to a fishing tackle shop to buy supplies for his upcoming fishing trip, and then returns to his boat. Soon, he is visited by Frank, Karen's husband, who, as it turns out, arrived a day early. The man tries to arrange a fishing trip, but Baker is not happy with him, so he doesn't want to take him along. However, after a while, Duke reports the news. He managed to find out that this Frank withdrew $10,000 to pay for the fishing trip. This is a lot of money, considering that the trip usually costs only $700. Realizing that the boat needs repairs, and he could use the money himself, Baker agrees, and takes Frank along for the ride. The trio sets sail, and has heart-to-heart conversations, during which the hero learns about Frank's morals, or rather, his lack of them. It turns out that he is not only a bad person, but also a traitor. The stories about his wife, Baker, do not affect him, but when it comes to Patrick, the fisherman can hardly restrain himself from unleashing all his rage on Frank. Meanwhile, the float begins to move, which means it's time to pass the rod to Frank. A small shark bites the bait, and the hero gives the client the catch. Soon, the man almost falls overboard, but instead of immediately rushing to his aid, Baker thinks about his ex-wife's words. The boat docks at the shore, and Karen sees Frank. She realizes that her husband is still alive, so she tries to talk to Baker again. She says that it was Patrick's idea to throw Frank overboard, but the hero still refuses to commit such a crime. Meanwhile, Duke begins to guess what Karen wants, so he decides to talk to his friend. Despite Baker's objections, the man is convinced that he has found out the truth and asks him to think carefully and not to take a person's life. Now it becomes clear. If Baker goes to sea tomorrow without Duke, it will mean that he has decided to commit murder. The man returns to his boat at night to think things over again. Soon Karen arrives. She tells the hero that she has never forgotten about him all this time, and moreover, she still loves him. Baker listens to her and eventually succumbs to temptation. He decides to fulfill her request, and Karen leaves. Near the house, the hero meets a man with a suitcase who has been looking for him for a long time. Each time, the man was just a few seconds late, but this time, he manages to get Baker's attention. The stranger offers him a modern device for finding fish, and even allows him to use it for a few days for free. Baker is cautious, but he is interested when the man says that this place has its own rules, created by someone. The fisherman learns something strange. Everything around him is a game with its own peculiarities and internal laws. Someone created the entire island of Plymouth, and the main rule of the game is to catch fish. Finding tuna became his obsession, but now everything has changed. While no one used to die on the island, the game's creator has changed the rules for some reason, and Baker is faced with a difficult choice. Of course, everything the stranger says seems like nonsense to the hero, but when he wakes up in the morning, he begins to notice strange inconsistencies. First, he wakes up a few seconds before the alarm, but for some reason he can't get out of bed. Then he finds maps, but there are no continents or countries on them, only the island of Plymouth. The hero decides to go to a secluded place in the field to talk to Patrick. Karen said that her son can somehow hear him. Upon arrival, Baker talks about his past, recalling how they used to go fishing together. This is probably why the boy made him obsessed with fish. Soon after, his girlfriend's son comes running and asks to hire him. But this time, Baker doesn't need any witnesses, so he refuses. The hero goes to his boat, where Duke also comes. The friend informs him that they will go out to sea today without Frank. It turned out that he was so worried about Baker that he even bribed a friend to break Frank's arm. Baker is furious about the change of plans, because now he won't be able to help his son. He gets drunk and goes to look at the sea, where he is found by a man who tells him the truth. The fisherman doesn't believe his theory, thinking that he just drinks a lot of rum, which is why he doesn't remember most of his past history. However, after a few minutes, he decides that he must help his son escape from his abusive stepfather and returns to the boat. Meanwhile, Karen convinces her husband to go fishing even with a broken arm. The ex-spouses plan to kill Frank, but unexpectedly, the son of Baker's girlfriend goes with them. Karen wants to eliminate the boy so that he cannot tell the police anything about what is about to happen, but Baker does not allow her to do so. Soon, the bait is swallowed by the very tuna the hero has been looking for months. Realizing that this is the moment, Baker decides to pass the fishing rod to Frank. As a result, the fish drags the man into the sea, and Baker shouts his son's name. Karen thanks her ex-husband for his help, and says she has always loved him. She is sure that one day he will finally be able to see his son. Meanwhile, in the real world, the boy who created the game picks up a knife and leaves the room where his mother's screams are coming from. When he returns, he finds that the game has disappeared from the computer, because the mission is complete. The boy has eliminated his stepfather to save his mother. He is arrested, and the news reports on the case. It turns out that Patrick's father died in Iraq and was posthumously awarded a medal for bravery. The school notes that the boy was a genius, but due to the dysfunctional atmosphere in which he grew up, Patrick created a virtual world in the form of a computer game that helped him cope with quarrels in the family. Despite this, the mother manages to drop the charges and bring her son home. Baker goes to the phone and picks up the receiver to hear Patrick's voice. The son tells her what happened and says he regrets it. He wants to change the rules of the game to come to his father. Baker is happy to hear this news, hangs up the phone, and watches as everything around him begins to change. Soon Patrick comes running down the dock, and the father and son are finally reunited. If you have watched the video so far, you should know that I am happy to have viewers like you. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe to the channel and follow the news. Klonsak Recapped was with you. See you soon.